Hi, everybody. Just wanted to do a quick stream because I was insanely bored and thought, well, we could cover some news and upcoming comic books that I care about, but probably nobody else does. So thanks for coming out. It's 4 in the morning, so I thought maybe, people would be awake like myself. So first we'll lead off with some sad news. Unfortunately, make sure I'm doing this right. Frank McLaughlin died at age 84. He was the creator of Judo Master. He did a lot of work on like adventure comics. I think he did some Captain America work, stuff like that. Unfortunately, he hasn't done anything in a really long time, so a lot of people don't know who he is, but he did a lot of work over at Charlton. And I had a lot of these comics when I was a kid. I actually had this exact issue, which was awesome. Yeah, the costume's a little goofy, but his art style was real clean, real professional, really good 70s and 80s style art. Morning, TOS. How you doing? So yeah, unfortunately he died. 84 years, pretty good run, but he did live in Connecticut, so I'll forgive him for that. But yeah, like you can see here, he worked at DC, Marvel, Valiant, and Archie, as well as Charlton, obviously. Charlton eventually got absorbed by DC, so a lot of the early Charlton heroes, like Captain Atom, Blue Beetle, and some of the others, were drawn by this guy. So he's a really good artist, and it's really sad that he died. Hey, Della. Hey, Shrouded. How you guys doing? So yeah, this was a real bummer, but he had a good run, and some of his work still floating around. I wish a lot of this stuff would get reprinted because it was really decent work. The art, especially at this time, was pretty good. So it's a real tragic loss, not only that he died, but a lot of his legacy isn't still in print. So next up, DC is delaying indefinitely the final 2 issues of 2 different miniseries, Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul and Inferior 5. Which drives me nuts because I was actually enjoying Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul. Inferior 5, I didn't even know was out. So that should, as much money as I spend at the comic shop, that should tell you something. But Neil Adams is a comic book legend, and a lot of his art is just phenomenal. So this was real tragic for me because I really wanted to see how this crazy miniseries ended. But they canceled the orders and just said that they are going to be resolicited at some point in the future. And that's really annoying. I don't want to see your stupid autoplay commercials. So the covers were even solicited. The books were solicited. Neil Adams is doing all the work on these 2. Keith Giffen's working on Inferior 5 with Jeff Lemire. And I was really bummed because I really like Keith Giffen's work. But they're not going to release these. Are they done? Why aren't they releasing them? I find it odd that these books were indefinitely postponed when they also canceled a whole bunch of convention appearances. They said it's for the coronavirus. I don't know about that. I think there's something else going on behind the scenes at DC. Maybe it's just bad decision making, but I'm really annoyed they canceled these. I really liked Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul. It's a crazy book, but it was a lot of fun to read. So it was nice, fast-paced action. Real throwback to the 70s stuff. So I'm really bummed by that. Oh, hey, Evil One. So yeah, this was real downer. I'm really annoyed by that. DC just can't seem to get their heads out of their butts. So that annoyed me. And then Sean Gordon Murphy, who's the artist on Batman Curse of the White Knight, he's the writer-artist. He had gotten into a little bit of trouble with the SJWs because he did the cover for Bigfoot Bill 2. And then he comes out today saying that the cover's getting pulled because a bunch of his little buddies over at DC and Marvel and all that were complaining because Bigfoot Bill creator Doug TenNapel is hardcore Christian, and he said some things that they consider transphobic or against the LGBTQ. And really, it just kind of looks like they did it because he's a Christian and doesn't support the lifestyle, which is his right. This is America for now. But now Stephanie Cook, who I'm not sure who she was, but she's saying that she wants him to back out of any working relationship with Blake Northcott as well because of her associations with Comicsgate. And now I don't really care about Comicsgate anymore. They've really gone off the deep end. But this is just more evidence that you capitulate once, they'll continue to make demands. And he'll probably fold like a card table, too. Blake Northcott's book, which was funded on Indiegogo, I believe it was called Everglade Angels, is getting released as a mini-series, I think through Scout Comics or one of those small publishers. So it doesn't surprise me that they want more heads. Since he capitulated on Bigfoot Bill, of course, they want him to capitulate on everything else. And I find it really cowardly that he did this because he had a contract to do the cover. And instead of trying to build bridges and say, hey, I could reach out through my art and maybe bring some people over to my other work, which will show my more progressive ideology. Instead of doing that, he just built a wall up between himself and a part of his audience. And I think that's a coward's move. I don't think Doug TenNapel has ever treated anyone that I've ever seen differently because of their sexual orientation. Yeah, you really can't speak your mind and have your own beliefs anymore. That's true. But it's nonsense. Some of these people have to at some point stand up and say enough's enough. But until then, this guy's just capitulating, and he'll continue to do so. Because once they get you, they always ask for more. It's always just a little bit more. So, yeah, it's just more of the same here, which is really depressing. He had a lot of potential to be a moderate voice in the comic industry, and instead he folded because he's got all these projects coming up, and he's a hot artist right now. So instead of reaching out to new people and trying to win some hearts and minds, he decided to take a dump all over everybody. So yeah, see here, she said, revoking your art from one crappy person's project doesn't mean squat if you continue working with other crappy people. Who gets to set those standards? Well, apparently Stephanie Cook and the Portland Mafia get to, because that's the people that were complaining. It was people like Tess Fowler and Donnie Cates and some of those others, probably half a dozen other people that I don't care about. So that was really disappointing. And now they're calling for more people to be ostracized from the industry. So that means if you want to see any of people like Blake Northcott or Doug TenNapel's work, you should probably support their Indiegogos. Even Ethan Van Sciver came out and kind of separated himself from Doug TenNapel and kind of crapped on him. And I thought that was a little lazy and dirty because he's a competitor. And I thought that was a little cheap to make a little cheap shot like that, especially when they're kind of in the same boat together. But let's get to the comics. So this is the new release schedule for next week, March 11th. There's a lot of stuff coming out, and most of it looks like garbage. I only found about a dozen books that I was even remotely interested in. But we've got a bunch of new series coming out from Image. We got this Decorum. That looked boring. More, you can tell by the hero haircut here. Whenever you see the sides of the head shaved, the more sides shaved, the more SJW you're going to get. It is by Jonathan Hickman, who is popular right now, but I haven't been too impressed with his X-Men run. If you've watched my reviews, you know that I think it's a bunch of segregationist ethnostaters, and I don't really care to read that garbage. So this looks like more of the same. At least there's boobs on this one. So she looks like Captain Marvel wants to talk to my manager, but there's not even a description here about what the book is about. So I don't care. Why do I care about this book at all? It probably says in one of these, but if I click on any image, I should get a summary of what the book's about. And if they're not doing that, the book probably sucks. The Stealth actually has kind of a cool cover. Action-packed. All right, something's happening here. Wings, but I'm not real impressed. It did strike me as being all that interesting. It's created by these two guys, Kirkman and Silvestri, which are good creators, but it's not written or drawn by either one. So why do I care? Boring. Dark Horse has really sold out and become a garbage fire. Oh, hey, how you doing, Hate Camel? I suppose I should do the mandatory internet thing and say hit like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to throw money at me. So Dark Horse has been sucking it up for about the last decade or so. And their quality, aside from their books, as far as writing and art goes, has dropped, but also the paper quality. It's really sad. I've heard this Machine Gun Wizards might be good, but I'm not going to take that chance because there are a lot of SJW crap. I can't sleep either, Hate Camel. So, yeah, more garbage from them. Elf Quest, I never understood that book. I thought the elves looked weird and kind of creepy. They looked almost like scarier gelflings from Dark Crystal, which creeped me out as a kid. Those things were hideous monsters as far as I was concerned. IDW, I really like them. And like I put on Twitter, I'd love to see a G.I. Joe Care Bears crossover where the Care Bear stare wins over Cobra Commander's heart. Maybe it takes place at Christmas. He pulls a Grinch thing where he steals the toys, and the Care Bears and the Joes have to team up. I think it'd be awesome. Maybe have the Care Bears with some machine guns. I'd be all for it. Totally would buy that. These Marvel action books are such a lost. They had such potential to be great. All they had to do was tell good, simple stories aimed at younger readers. Instead, it's just boring. That Judge Dredd 100-page giant might be good, though. I was thinking about picking that up, but I probably will pass on it. Dire Wraiths, that's a ROM book. I'm definitely going to pick that up because I love ROM. And the ROM series from IDW was pretty decent. So I'm intrigued to see this one. I haven't read the first issue. I've got it sitting here. So I'll pick that up. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has been solid. If you like the animated series when you were a kid, you'll probably like that. I would start out with the first volume, obviously, or get the old stuff. The old stuff was definitely better. The Transformers series has been okay. I'm a little far behind, though. And it's always awesome to see the Scrooge books and the Disney stuff. So these don't sell very well, though. I'm not sure why. Maybe some stores don't order them in, but kids like that stuff, so I don't get it. As far as DC goes, they're doing a second printing of Batman 89. They'll probably do a third printing because it's the first cameo appearance of Punchline, and the speculators are just spooging all over themselves to snap them up. So I got a first edition, thankfully, and I'm probably going to give it to one of my friends. But I didn't think it was that impressive. It was good. It was a good issue, but this new character, it's just a speculator-driven market. Give it a couple months, that one will come back down, or just buy the second print. It's not really going to do anything otherwise. Batman and the Outsiders has been pretty boring. That and had a lot of potential, too. The old series was way better. Tales of the Demon, this Batman book, this looks really cool. That's a classic cover. One of the first appearances of Ra's al Ghul. Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams, Don Newton. These were great stories back in the day. This is when DC was starting to really grow up in the 70s and early 80s. And these really had a lot of grown-up stuff compared to what DC normally put out. So this was a lot more mature, and they did stuff like this, which came out around the same time as the Green Lantern, Green Arrow issue with Speedy having a heroin addiction. They started doing more edgy covers and a lot less childish crap. So this actually has some really cool Neil Adams art. So if you like Batman stuff, this is a good one to get. They're doing a lot more with Ra's al Ghul lately. And this would have been a great crossover with the Batman versus Ra's al Ghul miniseries that Neil Adams was doing. But again, for some reason, they canceled that just to make me mad, probably. Yeah, it's all about me. Batman's Grave has been great. I'm definitely picking this up. And they're doing a reprint of Detective Comics 38, which is the first appearance of Robin. So I'm probably going to pick that up because I haven't read that in probably 20 years. I've seen reprints of it before, obviously. It's usually in the various collected works. But it's kind of a classic, so if you like Batman and Robin, you could get a glimpse of what they used to look like in the 40s and how much different they are compared to now. So that was kind of cool. So I'll pick that one up for sure. The Most Wanteds were cool back in the 70s, but they're really dated. They are doing these dollar comics, which I love. They're reprinting a lot of classic issues. Unfortunately, they're not reprinting story arcs, which I don't understand. If you're going to reprint key issues, you should probably have the context for those issues. This issue is not the first part of the story, as I recall. This is part 3, I think. But it's Robin's 80th birthday, or anniversary, rather. So, to coincide with that, they're releasing this issue, which is the death of Jason Todd. So, yeah, part 3. I don't know why they would release part 3 and not re-release part 1 and 2. They're not losing any money from the secondary market, so they shouldn't care if it devalues the first printings. I would just reprint all 4 issues and release one each week. That would make more sense. Get the full storyline in the shops. People have a reason to come in each week. And yeah, you're reading that right. Mike Mignola did the cover art. Jim Starlin did the storyline. He's the creator of Thanos, for those of you that don't know. Jim Aparo is my absolute favorite Batman artist of all time. He drew Batman off and on for years, and I liked his style. He was real clean and concise. I also liked Mike Grell doing Batman drawings, but he doesn't do very much, as I recall. He should have, though. But this was a great storyline as far as handling a death scene maturely. And it's a really messed up one because, like, the Joker becomes the diplomat for Iran, so he gets diplomatic immunity for beating Jason to death. But it's a great storyline as far as the way it was handled. But they should have reprinted all 4 issues. But the other issues are pretty good. Robin issue 1 is being reprinted. This is the first miniseries they did from 1991. And it introduces Tim Drake officially as Robin, even though he was in an annual before that and he was wearing the costume in the Batman books for a little while. But that's neither here nor there. These are both easily worth checking out if you've never read them. I would absolutely recommend the trade paperback for this or finding the full story arc, but if you don't want to spend 10 or 15 bucks to get the original, get the dollar reprint. Really like the dollar books. I think they're a great way to bring in new people or pick up stuff for younger readers at a really reasonable price. But hey, what do I know? Flash is boring. I don't like Barry Allen, never did. And the book isn't that good. Green Lantern Season 2, I'm kind of far behind on my Green Lantern stuff, but Grant Morrison's run on it should be great, but it's just okay. The art is really good, though. It's Liam Sharp. He's kind of trying a slightly different style than what he usually does in the Green Lantern stuff. I don't know why they're calling it Season 2. It's not a TV series. Just call it Book 2 or something like that. And just do it that way. Just say it's a 12-issue miniseries and get it over with. That's it. It is a 12-issue miniseries, but it doesn't say that on the cover, which really annoys me. Hawkman's a great book. I've got to get around to reviewing those at some point, but it's a really underrated book that should be appreciated more. The Just Imagines are really good. These are about Stan Lee writing DC characters and how he would have done them. And I think it's an interesting take. It definitely aimed at a much younger audience, but look at the cast of artists we got on there. We got Dave Gibbons, who did Watchmen. We got Jerry Ordway, who is a great artist, Jim Lee, another great artist, Joe Kubert, John Buscema, Kevin McGuire, uh, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Gene Colan, all really, really talented artists. There's a few in there that I'm not a huge fan of, but still some really good talent, and it's got some really interesting takes on the books. DC does have the Looney Tunes titles, and they are $2.99, which is really cool, but I've never seen these in the stores. Not in a long time, anyway. The one comic shop near me that closed would carry them occasionally, and they seem to sell okay, but that store went out of business, so I haven't seen them since that happened. Terrifics, nah, not interested. Young Justice is garbage. Year of the Villain Hell Arisen, issue 3, is getting the second print. This is where they actually named Punchline. So if you find a first printing for $4 or $5 rather, buy it and sell it online for 20. Do the flip if you're into that sort of thing. I'd like to say Superman's been good, but it's been total trash with Bendis. And it's really a big shame because Bendis used to have talent. Now he's garbage. So that brings us down to Marvel. So Amazing Spider-Man has been an abortion of a comic book. It's really sad. There's not much out that really looks good. Cable, I thought about picking up, but I don't care about Kid Cable. It's really dumb. I liked grouchy old man Cable. The X books are such trash anyway. Ghost Rider's been okay, but I don't know if I can really justify dropping $4 on a book that's only okay. I get about $2 of entertainment out of it, and it's costs twice that. So no thank you. I'm probably going to pick it up at some point. It depends on what my discount looks like at the time or if it's in the back issue bin. So I'll probably wait on that one. History of the Marvel Universe Treasury Edition, that's not worth it. The art was kind of trashy in that. Immortal Hulk, nope, not buying that. That's woke lecture Hulk. He's boring. Jessica Jones, that one's boring. The Punisher, I'm a little bit behind on this miniseries, but I've been enjoying that one. The couple issues I read, so I'll pick that up. I don't know why they're not doing a regular Punisher series, probably because Marvel lacks the testosterone in the office to have somebody actually write somebody like Frank Castle and do it correctly, because they always make him this sort of foo-foo Nancy boy who's afraid of everything and my poor wife, blah. No, he's out for vengeance. He wants to kill people. The Star Wars Bounty Hunters looks pretty good. This character, Valance, he was actually in the original Marvel series that they did of Star Wars years ago in, I think, issue 13, and it had the big green bunny in it. I liked him. Forget his name offhand. But this series looked okay. I'll probably check that one out. Ethan Sachs is an okay writer. Hopefully this will be fine, though. Paulo Vanilla, whatever his name is. I think he's an okay artist, but maybe not. I don't remember. But I'll probably check this one out. So that review will be probably a week after I get it. Star Wars Darth Vader, I'm not taking that chance. The creative team doesn't seem that good. The Kylo Ren book is stupid. Submariner, these Marvel snapshots are dumb. They're a cash grab. Symbiote Spider-Man, the first miniseries was good. I haven't gotten to the second one yet. I've got the first 3 issues, or 3 issues I've got sitting around, but I haven't read them yet. It looked okay, but I don't know. Marvel's so hit and miss. The Thor Facsimile Edition, I might pick this up. It's a Jerry Conway issue, but I know the art in this one isn't that good. And this is around the time that they were still aiming at like high school kids, and some of those are really boring. So I might skip this one. Thor back then was just at best mediocre. So I'll probably skip that, but I might pick it up just to see how I feel about it now. But I never liked Thor that much in his own series. He's better in team books, I think. The True Believer books are usually good. They're the dollar line from Marvel. But again, they reprint like one part of a story and expect you to go buy a $40 trade paperback. The nice thing is when they reprint the really old stuff from like Fantastic Four from the 60s, like this is Fantastic Four number 37. This is probably going to be a contained story in itself. If it's not, it'll be enough of a story that you won't care too much if you're missing the second half, and you can buy them digitally for like $2. So if you go into a store and want to grab something for a younger reader or to read some of the old stuff that you can't afford to buy, then grab these. I love these things. They reprint a lot of really good stories. And I was never a huge Fantastic Four fan, so I don't think I've read this one. So I'll pick this up just to see what the story was and see if it's any good. But I'll risk $1 well before I risk $4, obviously. And then I can buy like 3 or 4 of them of these old reprints and actually feel like I got something out of my money for my $4. But I won't bother with the other two. This Young Justice issue is garbage. I read that when it was new. And this one reprints Avengers Celestial Quest. That was boring. Wasn't interested. Venom, it's dragging on. Donny Cates is starting to think he's better than he is. So it's going nowhere fast. The Exno State books, I will probably pick this up because I will get a massive discount on it because I made a deal with the comic shop guy because he loves these books. And he counters my argument that the X-Men are in Ethno State by saying, well, people were mean to mutants. So he's been loving it. I like the art is good, but I don't really care about supervillains. And if I want to read about white nationalism, I'll read the news because that's effectively what they are. And I don't know where the storyline's going because it's not that interesting. As far as Dynamite goes, this Black Terror book is such a wasted effort. Creative team is garbage on it. The book's uninteresting and more low testosterone nonsense. There's no real reason to pick it up. Death to the Army of Darkness, though, the interior art isn't that great, but Ryan Parrott's a pretty good writer. He does the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and he's going to be doing another book coming up, but I don't remember what the title of it is. But he's a decent writer, so if you like the Army of Darkness stuff, this is probably going to be for you, but the art definitely leaves a lot to be desired. And there are a lot of variant covers, but I don't really care about any of that. Deja Thoris has been pretty solid. Dan Abnett was writing that. And I really like him. He can do sci-fi really well. He's written a ton of the 40K books. He used to write Aquaman. He does a lot of comic book stuff. But his comic stuff is really good. His novels are fantastic too, but I don't read a lot of regular fiction books, just comics. But look at that art. That's some good stuff. Whoop. So I would recommend this series. It's pretty good, and they're only on issue 4. So you can track down the first 3 issues pretty easily. I'll buy Deja Thoris and Death to the Army of Darkness. James Bond is trash. What a waste of time and money. Vampirella, Red Sonja, they're totally milking these crossovers. They are so bad. And just really uninteresting. It's not even that they're like badly drawn. There's that. It's not that they're badly written. They're okay written. They're just boring. And really what they invest the money in over at Dynamite seems to be their cover art, which they always tend to have at least one good cover for each of their books. But unfortunately, it's really, really bad interior art. Boom Studios is, that was smart. Boom Studios is usually a mixed bag. This BB Free is really dumb. Some body positive nonsense about the Burger King Kids Club ethnic group getting together and going on an adventure. It's really dumb. Go-Go Power Rangers was actually pretty well written for most of the run that I read. I don't think I released any of those reviews, but it wasn't bad for a while. Ryan Parrott took over real recently on the series, and he was writing Mighty Morphin, and that was good. I thought that book was pretty solid. So him on this book, they're doing another crossover called Necessary Evil, where they're switching up the cast, and it actually follows the TV show pretty well, but they're kind of getting past that point. This series is coming to an end in like 2 issues because they're getting to the point where it's catching up with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, because Go-Go takes place before they got the Green Ranger, and I think they introduced him like a couple issues ago. So they're kind of catching up with where Mighty Morphin is. So they're just wrapping the series up. So if you're a Power Rangers fan, I highly recommend both Go-Go Power Rangers and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Mighty Morphin was better early on because Ryan Parrott was doing it, but Go-Go's pretty solid stuff too. Ronin Island is trash, which really is sad because that one had a lot of potential because it's got Ronins and samurais and swordplay, and it's really boring. The toys, I haven't been buying toys since I ran a comic shop, so I think I've picked up 1 or 2 here or there. I did pick up a Trump action figure, though, which I will do an unboxing video of. I might put that on the Patreon page so I can avoid the woke scolds from Copa, but I'll throw the link in a live stream chat one of these days so everybody can watch it. As far as the other publishers, as always, it's a mixed bag. This Adler had a lot of potential, but it suffers from a bad case of the feminism. So this is about Irene Adler doing a detective story. Irene Adler was Sherlock Holmes' love interest. Would I buy a Trumpy bear? I don't know what that is, but if it's a teddy bear that looks like Trump, if somebody gave it to me, I'd take it. So Irene Adler forms the girl version of League of the Extraordinary Gentlemen and goes on a wacky adventure that way. It had potential to be interesting, but instead it became just more super feminist nonsense, which is really sad. You're not spending that much money. What, $3.99? So, yeah, a lot of this other stuff that's some weird furry looking crap. I don't know what that is. Bloodshot, awesome. I'm going to pick that up. I love Bloodshot, which reminds me, my comic guy forgot to order my copy. So note to self. This series has been really good. So see if Tim Seeley's still working on it. Yep, Tim Seeley. They changed the artist. Brett Booth was doing the art for it originally, and his work was amazing on there. Great action scenes. I'm not sure who Mark Lamming is, but hopefully he's pretty good. The movie's coming out soon, so I'm sure they're really hyped about that and hoping the series will pick up, which I'm surprised it hasn't yet. Its sales have been garbage, and I don't understand why. It's such a fantastic series as far as action. If you like action books, you'll dig it. Shroom bought a MAGA 2020 hat when you go to Walmart. Yeah, blend into your surroundings. Might want to put on a fat suit too. This Captain Ginger is supposed to be pretty good, but didn't really care. American Mythology does a lot of the Harvey stuff from back in the day. The Harvey Dell characters like Casper and Hot Stuff and Wendy and a couple of the others. They also have the licenses for the Three Stooges and Laurel and Hardy. The Three Stooges stuff has been pretty good. I did get the Laurel and Hardy Meet the Three Stooges one shot, and that was okay. The Casper stuff has been great kids fare if you've got kids. You don't have to. Yeah, I know the feeling, man. So if you're looking for kids books, because really the industry needs to get more young people reading comics and make that kind of part of their childhood. I would definitely recommend these. They're really fun. I think they're going to do some trade paperbacks with them, which would be a good way to get them because they won't be expensive. American Mythology is a really good company. A lot of these other books are kind of trash. The Grimm's Fairy Tales one-shots, they're cheesecake stuff. Their regular Grimm Fairy Tales book is okay, but it's the weakest one of the Zenescope line. Ignited, this is a Mark Waid book. Mark Waid and Kwanzaa Osajefo and their teen terrorist group that they call activists. They've done nothing but act like terrorists. They were attacking peaceful protesters under the guise of protecting people. Stuff like that. It's a terrible book. I reviewed the first couple of issues and it was just awful. It was propaganda work. I'm surprised it's still being published. Issue 8, like issue 6, I think it was, only sold like 1,000 some copies. Something ridiculous like that. It's trash. These Lady Death ones, a lot of these are old books that were being, apparently they had been sitting in a warehouse or something, but they're being resolicited. I think there is one new one mixed in here, but I was not a Chaos fan, Chaos Comics. I wasn't a big fan of them back in the day, so I never really read a lot of this stuff. But if you're a big Lady Death fan, you could probably have these ordered. I don't think most stores are going to just order them on their own. But $6 a piece is a bit expensive, but they are like foil books. And I always found that to be gimmicky and lazy and distracting for the bad storylines. But I don't know. I didn't read Lady Death stuff. Lady Death's She crossover could be interesting. That one I would actually consider reading, but I'm not paying $8 for it. This North Bend looked pretty good. That's Scout Comics, so it's a bit of a roll of the dice. I'm not sure who any of the creative staff is. But yeah, this one has the U.S. at war and on the verge of economic collapse when other wacky things start happening. And it could be interesting, but it'll probably be trash. But I'm going to order it. Well, I did order it, rather. I'm going to read it and see if it's any good. Rye has been pretty good. This is another Valiant book. This one's written by Dan Abnett. Again, I like Dan Abnett. So that cover is trash. So what is going on with his mouth? What is that? What do I think of Mark Waid apologizing for his sad clown run of Deadpool? Mark Waid has a lot to apologize for in the last decade. Deadpool, yeah, his run on Deadpool was crap. His run on Doctor Strange was real mixed. His run on Daredevil, where Daredevil was like this weird hipster in California, it was dumb. It was so bad. I don't know. I think Mark Waid started going downhill before Trump derangement syndrome kicked in. So I really have no idea what's going on with him over the last decade or so. Maybe it's a midlife crisis, but he's got a lot to apologize for as far as his writing goes. But Dan Abnett does not, and I'm definitely going to pick this up. I am really far behind on this. So I've got to really devote like a weekend to just getting comic reviews done. Robin Hood Vigilante has been good. These are usually just miniseries. But Ben Mears is a solid writer. And look at this beautiful lady parts. They know how to draw women at Zenescope. So the art is generally very solid. And I've liked a lot of the Robin Hood stuff that's come out. Howard Mackey did one. And Howard Mackey used to write Spider-Man back in the day. He wasn't the greatest Spider-Man writer, but he was solid. He was at least entertaining. And even if I wasn't like a huge fan of it, like I just thought it was mediocre. By today's standards, it looked like gold. So I'm definitely going to read this one. I've got the other 4 issues of this miniseries, the Vigilante one, but I've got some of the other Robin Hood ones that I have to finish the reviews on before I can get to these. But they always look sexy. Look at this cover. This is... Hey, look. What are these? Oh, hey, Marvel, maybe you should draw some of those in. Rise, that's dumb. Scout Comics is a real mixed bag. Oh, yeah. American Mythology also has Rocky and Bullwinkle. This Roku was so disappointingly trash. It was basically Medusa from the Inhumans as an assassin. It was really lazy. Very boring and generic. I don't know much about a lot of these mangas. People keep telling me to review them, but they get real copyright strike happy from Japan because they don't have fair use laws over there, so they don't think we should either. This Sweetheart looked like it might be interesting. Being hunted is an everyday risk in Elcott City. The town itself is designed to make life comfortable for its citizens while being actively stalked by eerie, insatiable creature that lives among them. But when Ben is chosen by one of the creatures near his home, his mother struggles to cope with the certainty of her son's death. I've been reading a lot more horror comics lately than I ever did, and this actually looks like it might be interesting. Action Lab's pretty consistently decent, so they may not be the best, but they're not the worst either. So I'll probably review that one and see how it goes. I ordered it. We'll see what the comic shop guy says when I get it in, because he usually reads some of these indie stuff. Super Babes is FemForce. AC Comics has been around for ages. They do a lot of public domain characters, and it's effectively just low-grade cheesecake. So if you like chicks like that with minor story, then you'll like it. I think that's really about it. The magazines, there's not much coming out. Heavy Metal, it's pretty consistent. Books, there's not a lot here I'm particularly interested in. What is this? Look at this. Well, I'm a strong, independent woman that don't need no man. Yeah. So yeah, the new catalog for the week isn't overly impressive. There's about 15 books that I found that I'm gonna probably pick up. These young reader books are a real mixed bag. I mean, this art is goofy. What is this? What are you doing? What are you doing, DC? That's what little kid finds this cool looking? Why would you? No, I would be repulsed by this. I would have nightmares about a giant-headed masked man dragging his head along trying to eat me or something. That looks stupid. So yeah, and it's $7. Yeah, no, your weird hipster parents will buy that for you and nobody else. Some of these young adult novels have been really trash, which is really disappointing because they have the chance to reach out to new people and they hire these garbage tier urban romance, paranormal romance writers, and they're just complete trash. There's some new toys and stuff coming out, but nothing that I really saw that was really asking me to spend all my money on it. These banks are pretty cool, but they're not $20 cool. So that's kind of all I wanted to go over was what was coming out. And it won't let me power scroll. Okay. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out, not a lot otherwise. So have you guys got anything in the chat that you want me to address? Otherwise, I'll wrap it up here in a minute or two. Did I finish the Star Trek series? The Picard one? No, I'm not watching that trash. Oh, did you mean the Star Trek Year 5? I gave up on that. That got really heavy-handed with the gender identity, gender fluidity crap, and I stopped reading it, which is really disappointing because it was a really good book up until that point. That had a lot of potential to be a classic comic that people would want to track down for years, but instead they had to go for this weird gender fluidity alien fish people crap. And it was really, really stupid. Very disappointing because it had such a strong beginning. Oh, new Castlevania's out? Cool. Oh, you finished it? Oh, I'm sorry, man. Sorry, Shroom. The first like 6 or 7 issues was great, and then it got into this weird Fishman crap, and I was like, I don't care. There was even some cool throwbacks to the original series, so I'm really bummed about that. I will definitely check out the new Castlevania season. I like the first season. I haven't watched the second one yet. I've been too busy. But I will definitely binge watch that. I'll probably go hang out with a couple of my friends and watch it. Oh, yeah, that sucks. Pre-order. I hate it when I pre-order something that I end up finding out that's going to be trash. There's too many of them, and I absolutely hate it, especially if you have to order them online and you have to prepay for everything so it gets shipped to you because you don't have a store near you. That's the worst. I absolutely hated that. So let's put a pretty lady up on the screen here so we have some eye candy instead of you. Otherwise, I'd just go back to black screen and nobody wants to see that. Just my avatar. So, yeah, I used to have to mail order for books all the time back in like the late 80s, early 90s because there weren't any real comic shops around me. So I know what that misery is like. You end up getting something and you think it's going to be great, and then it turns into a total crap fest, and you already ordered the next 3 issues of it. So I have the problem of if I pre-order it, they always offer me the chance to cancel a particular title if I change my mind and don't want it. But I buy it anyway because I don't want them getting stuck with it because I buy a lot of these independent books, and most shops don't stock a lot of the indie stuff. So like the Xenoscope stuff, even if I think it's going to end up being bad, if I filled out the form and ordered it, I'll pick it up and take the hit on the $4. Thoughts on Garth Ennis? Preacher was probably his best work for edgy humor. Some of it's a little dated now. The Boys is kind of a takedown of superhero stuff. So if you don't mind like that send up, it's usually very violent with him and gory. So if you don't mind that sort of thing, I would say check it out if that's the sort of thing you're into. I think some of his work on Punisher was his best comic book work, but it's superhero stuff, so it's going to be a little over the top. But Preacher and The Boys were both good series for what they were. They're very violent, lots of swearing, and a lot of people getting killed, and it's a send-up of superhero stuff for The Boys and religious stuff for The Preacher. If you're looking for something like that, I would pick up the first volume of each one and check it out. First volume of The Boys is actually one of the weaker books, and that series ended well. Yeah, his Punisher series, Welcome Back, Frank, is the one you'll want to check out, in my opinion. That's his best one. But the others were good, too. All his Punisher books were very entertaining and very surreal and weird. Lots of strange characters. If you saw the 2004 Punisher movie with Thomas Jane, that was inspired by Welcome Back, Frank. And a lot of the characters that are in the movie appear in the comic, but it's much better. Hey, BG. So I would definitely recommend Welcome Back, Frank. Check out Preacher Volume 1 and the Boys Volume 1. See if you like them. Like I said, the Boys got better. Preacher gets really weird and offensive. If you have even mild affiliation or affection for Catholicism in any way, you do not want to read that book. I guess the TV series got pretty similar to it, but it didn't really capture a lot of the disturbing nuances that are in there. And Arseface was quite the character in that one. So overall, yeah, those are the ones I would check out. He's done a lot of stuff, though, and this has been around for quite a while. He did a run on Haunted Tank. I think it was a miniseries. that was pretty good, and I think he did an Unknown Soldier series that had a lot of potential. Oh, okay, you're unaffiliated. Yeah, you'll probably like Preacher then. Like I said, there's some really adult themes in there, so keep that away from the kids. But his Punisher stuff I really liked because Frank Castle was actually cool. And that was when Marvel was willing to take a few more chances. So, but yeah, I like Garth Ennis. When he tries to do regular superhero stuff, it tends to fall flat. I think he's better at this sort of like parody send up stuff. And he's got to be feeling really restrained these days because he's the type of person they will try and cancel culture on, which they did that at DC because originally The Boys was published at DC and then it got canceled and Dynamite finished it out because he owned all the characters and everything. It was one of those Vertigo type books where he owned the characters, and they had to finish the series over at Dynamite. And Dynamite's been reprinting the books, and then it got a TV series with Carl Urban. So, good job for him. More money for him, I suppose. DC tends to make some really dumb decisions. I think Dan Didio did that too, and he's an idiot. So, there's that. Oh, that's true, BG. It sure seems that way sometimes. So that's my thoughts on Garth Ennis. Anybody else have any questions or anything? I see there's 11 people watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All that stuff. Let's look at Lady Death. She's got big boobs. If you like cheesecake stuff, Lady Death, Brian Polito really knows how to draw boobs. I'm not even a big boob guy, and I respect the game here. Well, I appreciate everyone coming out, but I think I'm probably going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching and liking everything and all that. Awesome. Thank you, Hate Camel. So I'm like I said before, I'm going to try and do these on a semi-regular basis and just cover various upcoming stuff that looks cool that we don't talk about on Comic Book Curation that really doesn't fit that format, and news articles we don't cover, that sort of thing. I hope it was interesting. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'm still kind of new at doing these on my own. So thanks, guys, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.